The Shark Deck.
Hello, I'm Johnny Mac, and today we're celebrating Monster Mash Monday. What's that? So across the parent company here, the company that I founded, Caloroga Shark Media, on the various podcasts, we're all celebrating Monster Mash Monday. Today, I'm going to talk about Halloween comedy. If you listen to Palace Intrigue, the show about the royal family, it's all about royal ghosts. There's a new series, Romance Weekly. They have a ghost love story for you. We're, of course, doing Ghost Scary Stories Daily, 31 days, 31 ghost stories. That's a series. Check that out. And on the best song ever this week, this week's best song ever is The Monster Mash. So let's dive in with one of my all-time favorites, Shaun of the Dead from 2004. Simon Pegg stars as Shaun, a salesman in London who's caught in a zombie apocalypse with his best friend Ed, played by Nick Frost. Shaun of the Dead was developed from ideas from Pegg and Wright used for their TV series Spaced, particularly an episode where Simon Pegg's slacker character hallucinates a zombie invasion. In Shaun of the Dead, 29-year-old electronic salesman Shaun has no direction in his life. He's disrespected by his colleagues, he doesn't get along with his stepfather, he's dumped by his girlfriend. He's heartbroken. He gets drunk with Ed, his weed-dealing slacker best friend, at their favorite pub, the Winchester. At home, Shaun and Ed's flatmate Pete complains of a bite wound from a mugger. By morning, a zombie apocalypse has overwhelmed London. If you've never seen Shaun of the Dead, treat yourself. Another one of my favorites, What We Do in the Shadows. As much as I like the TV series, I loved the movie. I was blown away by this film when I watched it from 2014. The plot of that movie revolves around vampires living together in, no, not Staten Island, but Wellington, New Zealand. Familiar beats if you've seen the TV show. The crew of a documentary follows the lives of 4 vampire housemates. All of them have supernatural abilities. Jermaine Clement from Flight of the Conchords plays Vladislav the Poker, an 862-year-old vampire who is a former tyrant with extraordinary powers. Rhys Darby, who you will recognize, appears as Anton, the leader of a local pack of werewolves in one of the wonderful subplots in that movie. Treat yourself to the film. Rocky Horror, right? You've all seen Rocky Horror, I guess? Maybe you haven't. From 1975, a musical comedy horror film. The story centers on a young engaged couple whose car breaks down in the rain near a castle. They want to use their phone for help, pre-cell phones. This movie wouldn't happen now, right? There they meet strangers in elaborate costumes celebrating an annual convention. They discover the head of the house is Dr. Frank N. Furter, an apparently mad scientist who's actually an alien transvestite from the planet Transsexual in the galaxy of Transylvania. If you watch the film at home, you'll be like, why did John recommend this? This is so bad. You have to see it in a theater with a crowd, and the crowd participates. That's the whole hook of Rocky Horror. Some of you were like, yeah, we know, man. But for the people who don't, this is audience participation. You have to go see it with other people. The quintessential Rocky Horror props include rubber gloves, playing cards, newspaper, toast, balloons, and toilet paper. Go see it in a theater. You'll see what I mean. Young Frankenstein from 1974, directed by Mel Brooks, co-written by Brooks and Gene Wilder. Gene Wilder stars as Dr. Frederick Frankenstein. He becomes exasperated when anyone brings up the subject of his grandfather Victor Frankenstein, the infamous mad scientist. He doesn't want to be associated with that Dr. Frankenstein guy. He insists his name is pronounced Frankenstein. Dr. Frankenstein finds out that he has inherited his family's estate in Transylvania. He goes to check it out. There he meets a hunchbacked, bug-eyed servant named Igor. He introduces himself as Frankenstein, and then Igor insists that his name is pronounced Igor. From 1984, Ghostbusters. Based on his own fascination with spirituality, Dan Aykroyd conceived Ghostbusters as a project starring himself and John Belushi. In that version, they would venture through time and space, battling supernatural threats following Belushi's death in 1982, and Aykroyd's concept being deemed financially impractical. Harold Ramis was hired to help rewrite the script to set it in New York City and make it more realistic. An all-time classic, several sequels of varying quality. How about Beetlejuice? After Barbara and Adam die in a car accident, they find themselves stuck haunting their country residence, unable to leave the house. A family named the Dietzes moves in. They want to get rid of them, and they team up with Beetlejuice, played by Michael Keaton. Really fun movie. I saw the Broadway musical probably about a year ago. It has since closed. I saw it right before closing. It was fantastic. There is a national touring version. I highly recommend you go see Beetlejuice the musical. You're counting how many times I've said the B word? We're definitely going to get to 3 in this episode, so don't worry about it. I don't know what's going to happen when I say it. Let's just say it again. There was a sequel in development called Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian. In that film, the Dietz family would have moved to Hawaii to develop a resort. Construction begins, and it's quickly discovered that the hotel would be sitting on top of an ancient burial ground. Time to call Beetlejuice again. In 2013, Winona Ryder confirmed that talk about a sequel was swirling around. She told the Daily Beast, "I'm kind of sworn to secrecy, but it sounds like it might be happening. It's 27 years later, and I have to say, I love Lydia Dietz so much. I'd be really interested in what she's doing 27 years later." They abandoned that, but they are currently actually for reals working on Beetlejuice 2. I don't know much about the plot, but Michael Keaton is back. Catherine O'Hara and Winona Ryder are back. Jenna Ortega will be the primary female character in the movie. And who can forget the all-time classic, possibly the greatest movie ever made? No, it's not Citizen Kane. It's Adam Sandler's 2020 Halloween classic, Hubie Halloween. You remember this one? Adam Sandler plays Hubie, who most of the town calls Puby, in some highbrow humor of the Adam Sandler quality. Complicating things, Hubie's neighbor, played by Steve Buscemi, who may or may not be a werewolf. Sandler hooks up the usual suspects. Rob Schneider is in this thing, Colin Quinn, Kevin James. For some reason, Shaquille O'Neal makes an appearance. One review I see says, unfortunately, Hubie Halloween is too long at over 90 minutes. And it suffers from the same pacing issues that plague most of Sandler's movies. The humor isn't timed well, and a lot of scenes run on for too long. Same review says, Hubie Halloween is inoffensive in its level of entertainment, although it will likely be forgotten by the time Adam Sandler produces Tommy Thanksgiving. Don't give him any ideas. On the TV side, let's talk about Community, who had a wonderful, it is my favorite thing in all of Community, the Beetlejuice joke. If you're not hip to this, let me walk you through this. Season 1's episode, Communication Studies. Slater and Jeff are in the parking lot, and rather than use Britta's real name, Slater pretended to forget it and tried jogging her memory with other B words like bitter, butter, Beetlejuice. Okay, that's one. 9 months later, Season 2 episode called Cooperative Calligraphy. They're trying to find Annie's lost purple pen. You know that one? To prove their innocence, everybody strips off their clothes. They go down to their underwear. During the search, Britta sees Jeff's underwear and says that he normally wears stripy turquoise Beetlejuice numbers. That's 2. And then the payoff. Season 3. Horror fiction in 7 spooky steps. The study group realizes that one member is a secret psychopath after taking a test administered by Britta. They then take turns telling spooky stories to test each other's reactions. Before the pre-Halloween party is ruined, Annie uses Britta's computer to check her playlist. She mentions that Britta only has the Beetlejuice soundtrack, and immediately following that line of dialogue, if you look in the back of the scene, someone in a Beetlejuice costume walks directly behind Annie. I caught it at the time, and I realized what they had done, and I thought it was amazing. When you see it, it's so subtle. They don't draw any attention to it. If I hadn't told you this, you might not notice, but they say Beetlejuice for the 3rd time, and a Beetlejuice walks in the back of the set. It is fantastic. There's also a possibly darker Halloween thing to Community. Screen Rant writes, Britta's personal and family history remains a mystery until Season 3, Episode 22, Introduction to Finality. In it, Britta tries to use her newfound therapy skills on Abed, who's having a hard time dealing with Troy going to work for the air conditioning guys. But quickly, evil Abed turns the conversation to Britta's own traumas. The episode cuts to a commercial, so we don't actually hear the conversation. But when we come back from commercial, Britta is talking about a man in her past who is dressed as a dinosaur. The look on her face and the tremble in her voice suggests it's the farthest thing from a happy memory. Okay, stay with me. In Season 2, Episode 6, Epidemiology, everyone is dressed up for Halloween. Britta is dressed as a dinosaur. The analysis here is that Britta exhibits other behaviors throughout the show that suggest that she's not 100% mentally healthy. Screen Rant writes, a lot can be implied here, but either way, Britta was traumatized by the man in the dinosaur costume. Way to make this episode fun, Johnny Mac. Hey, I try and keep it varied. There were several Community Halloween episodes. Season 1, Episode 7's Introduction to Statistics. Shirley goes as Harry Potter, Britta is a squirrel, Troy is Eddie Murphy, Annie is a skeleton. Annie is hosting a Day of the Dead party. Jeff tries to find a way into a nearby faculty party so he can hook up with Professor Slater. Season 2, Episode 6, Epidemiology. Jeff dresses as David Beckham. Shirley is dressed as a princess. This is the one where Dean Pelton buys food from an army surplus store for the event, but the supposed taco meat is actually a hazardous substance. Partygoers fall ill, exhibiting zombie-like behavior. which results in the army locking down the campus. Very fun episode. All right, some other TV shows you may recall. The Munsters. Fred Gwynne plays Frankenstein's monster, Herman Munster, Yvonne DiCarlo as his wife Lily, Grandpa Al Lewis as Grandpa, Pat Priest as their niece Marilyn, and Butch Patrick as their werewolf son Eddie. They had a family pet, Spot, who was a dragon capable of breathing fire. The Munsters was a satire of the American suburban lifestyle and the typically family entertainment of the era. The Munsters aired on CBS Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. from September 24th, 1964 to May 12th, 1966. 70 episodes. Canceled due to low ratings brought on by competition from ABC's Batman. Also from 1964, The Addams Family. And I could have included that in the movies, but I like the show better than the movie. The Addams Family, an incredibly close family who share a passion for the macabre and possess supernatural abilities with no given explanation in the show. Gomez and Morticia are your parents, a wealthy couple with an endless enthusiasm for life. Their children, Wednesday and Pugsley. You may know Wednesday from current Netflix series. They also live with Uncle Fester and Grandmama. They all live at 0001 Cemetery Lane. The theme song mentions that their house is a museum, and the interior of the house is filled with odd and unique items, many of which are collector's items. The family has a butler named Lurch and an appendage known as Thing that appears from different objects such as wooden boxes. Recurring family members include Cousin It, Ophelia, who's Morticia's elder sister, and Grandma Frump, Morticia's mother. And a quick look at various Halloween sketches over the years from Saturday Night Live, including David S. Pumpkins, A Spooky Elevator Ride. Now, before I get to that, as I was putting the show together, I had typed David S. Pumpkins into the doc and then went and did some other stuff. And I came back and I was scrolling through the doc. And in a different story having nothing to do with today's episode, I saw Paul F. Tompkins. And I went, Paul F. Tompkins, David S. Pumpkins. I wonder if they did that on purpose. I never had noticed that before. Is everybody out there now? Are you guys like, yeah, no kidding, John? Or did I just put that together? Paul F. Tompkins, David S. Pumpkins. Anyway, Tom Hanks plays David S. Pumpkins. He is accompanied by two swaying skeletons, played by Mikey Day and Bobby Moynihan. He's clothed in pumpkins. He's a man of few words, yet he's extremely spirited. How about Bill Hader breaking out his Vincent Price impression in Celebrating Halloween with Vincent Price? Along with Vincent Price, a crow perched on his shoulder. He's hanging out with his famous friends, Gloria Swanson, played by Kristen Wiig, James Mason by John Hamm, and Liberace by Fred Armisen, but none of them have anything to contribute to the event or take any notice of Vincent's festive activities. In Season 1, Richard Pryor starred in The Exorcist 2. In this version of Exorcist 2, Lorraine Newman played a devilish little girl who was writhing about in her bed and slobbering as she hurled personal insults at the priests and their mothers. Richard Pryor noted for his facial expressions that demonstrate his horror and confusion. And back in 1977, Dan Aykroyd broke out the Super Bat-O-Matic, an ideal blender for all your potion requirements. This was a sequel sketch, a variation of the classic Bass-O-Matic sketch from the first season, where Aykroyd played the part of a salesman promoting the amazing Super Bass-O-Matic 76 blender that allowed people to make the most of fish. You know, you throw them in a blender. Super Bat-O-Matic 77. And that is Monster Mash Monday. Hope you enjoyed it. Go check out Palace Intrigue for some ghost stories about the Royals. Check out Ghost for some ghost stories about ghosts. Go check out the best song ever this week. Learn all about the Monster Mash. And check out Romance Weekly. You'll get a little ghost love story there. All right, back to normal tomorrow. Happy Halloween. See ya.